So next to my apprenticeship, wasn't a job, but it was a Toastmasters public speaking class. The reason why I joined, I came across a good quote by Warren Buffett. He said his greatest investment was a public speaking class. And as soon as I heard that, I'm hooked, right? And that makes total sense, right? Like, your communication skills, persuasion, influence on others, that really dictates your success, what you want in your career, your life's tasks. So that was like, wow. And that's something I knew I had a huge fear on. I was really subconscious of talking in front of others, how I sounded, especially in a group setting. So wow, like, what an opportunity for me to grow and confront my fears. So that's what I did. The class was only like $60 per year. I was like, that's a steal. I did have to drive like 30 minutes to the place. That was the only downfall, but everything else, it was awesome, man. I definitely recommend doing Toastmasters public speaking class. It really shaped me. It really got me scared. I say that. For example, when you're talking, I was definitely getting this tunnel visions. I couldn't think straight. My head would go blank. I would have awkward silences while I'm talking to the group. And like really bad. Like, I'd be silent for like 15, 20 seconds just trying to think because I couldn't think straight because my head was going blank on me because I was so freaking scared. But that made me feel alive, right? That made me feel bold because I knew that's a superpower. Being bold in life is a superpower. So I kept doing it. I kept being consistent each week, just showing up to just get 1% better every day, right? And I did that for a year. And wow, I saw tremendous improvement on me. My pauses, saying less filler words. I was more comfortable with pauses, being quiet, and allow myself to think, right? Because sometimes when we're talking, especially when we're nervous, we talk too fast or we're afraid of silence. And I realized that with myself. So I've really practiced on that. I really own up of my flaws, my weaknesses. I was like, okay, let's improve. How can I get better? And as the course kept going on, the people were really supportive. Most people there were actually really good at public speaking. Like, I didn't understand why they were already there. And that made it even worse for me because I knew I wasn't very good coming in. And everyone was like at least a 9 out of 10. Like, everyone was like, they seemed like a professional at it. And that was even more challenging because I knew everyone was good. So that, deep down they're more critical. They know what a good speech sounds like. And for me, I was a complete amateur. But overall, from the experience, the core lessons I've learned from doing public speaking Toastmasters: confront your fears. Don't be shy of telling yourself that, this is a weakness, that you need to work on this. Because if you don't work on it, how are you supposed to improve as a person? How do you expect to get what you want out of life? So heavily recommend doing public speaking class. If you haven't done it yet, do it. And I guarantee after a year of doing it, you will see tremendous improvement in it. My next apprenticeship is being a behavior tech. What we do exactly was help out children with autism or behavior issues. And yes, on the surface level, the job sounds great. It sounds very fulfilling. But I had a lot of issues with the job. Ultimately, I just felt like a high-paying babysitter. right? I felt like I wasn't really helping anyone. The reason why, I will explain, I feel like there was a lack of support for the business, towards the company, towards their RBTs. Um, I saw BCBAs lazy. I saw RBTs, my own peers, being really lazy, lack of energy in the job, not implementing the behavior plans, just sitting on their ass, really, and just most of the time they're on their phones in the classroom. And that was just really disappointing to see that when, you would be something part of a special movement and help children, and I didn't really see that in the field, and I saw people just collecting paychecks. I could give you an experience of a peer of another behavior tech. We shared a client, and she was at the home while I was at the home too, and I just by chance overheard her talking about me, making me look incompetent, making me look irresponsible, making me look bad from the parent, the guardian. And I'm usually not the type to confront or speak out, but at that point, I felt like I had no choice but to protect myself. So I confronted her in a professional manner, and I asked her from the mom, why would you say that? Why would you say that to our client when you know it's not true? Then she completely denies it while she just said it 5 seconds ago. So now she looks like a liar in front of everyone, and now she's embarrassed. That was one situation that was difficult, with your own peers, and there's jealousy issues, and one wants to get all the attention and be honored and get rewarded, and the other one, no, she wants to put down the other behavior tech. And that was me at the time. At that time, I was thinking to approach the next level of my supervisor's role as a behavior analyst. You usually need to pursue your master's, but what I saw was the lack of impact it had on the client, because not only after they write the behavior plan every 6 months, they have to communicate with the RBT what they want and how to implement the behavior plan, right? Well, what I saw with most RBTs, they were lazy. They were not passionate about the job. They worked for that job for the wrong reasons. They just really took advantage of being by themselves, essentially not a boss there, and working in the classroom, I saw. Next was the parents. Parents need to be aboard for helping their child, right? They need to implement the behavior plan. They need to understand why they're implementing it, but most of them are pretty stubborn. They want help, but then they don't want to listen at the same time, right? So you can't help someone if they don't want to get better or listen. So I saw that too. So you got two variables, right? So you're trying to tell the RBT, and the RBT they're most likely lazy and incompetent, and then you try to tell the parents don't want to listen. So yeah, like my supervisor, they get paid highly, they have flexible hours, but I didn't see the long-term fulfillment that it looked like up front exactly. So I saw these things and I was like, okay, I don't think I want to take this route, even though it's a good predictable route for me, and it makes good money and looks like, externally it looked like I would be successful and complete. But I knew I'd be lying to myself, and I pictured myself at age 50, 60, and like, this ain't for me. I'm going to have deep regrets staying in this field. And I felt more drawn to the more addiction, the foster care field than children with autism. It was just a personal reference for me. Don't regret the job at all, of course. It's part of my apprenticeship. It's part of learning. I saw how business should be. Two companies I worked for, they were horrible. They were disorganized. They say one thing and they didn't mean it. So there was a lot of inconsistencies and lack of communication and lack of work ethic I saw. So I saw the negatives, But then now I know, it's like, okay, now in the future, when I'm, if I do have my own business, I don't want to implement the way they did, right? I want to function in a high level. So overall in the experience, I did learn a lot about human behavior, because towards my clients, we had to prompt them, reinforce their behaviors. We had to learn how to maneuver, around their objections. We had to understand how to motivate them, and that part was really good for me. And that taught me a lot about the human dynamic and how to interact and how to build their trust and make them take action in certain desired skills that you want them to. But yeah, that was my experience as a behavior tech. And so lastly, my apprenticeship, this, reflecting back, I've already done public speaking class, been a behavior tech, been on my own business. I've worked at a sober house living as a house manager, and I found myself moving. I was moving out of my hometown, and I asked myself, what's next for me? And I kept hearing sales. I was like, that's perfect, right? Sales is like, you work for it. No one's pushing you. You had to be self-disciplined, self-motivated. And, there's unlimited opportunity, right? So once I moved, I went job searching. I started doing job networking groups, started them, talked to a lot of people, and eventually I found a sales. It was a roofing sales opportunity, so I took it. And it seemed like a well-groomed job. It had a base salary. I was like, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Let's make it happen. Once I started the job, I didn't get my first job after 2 months. Luckily, the job was base salary, but it was extremely difficult. I didn't know I was doing complete cold door knocking and different, wild experiences doing door knocking. It's one of the toughest occupations that you could do, I feel like. I could tell you one story. I usually drop off my information and someone didn't answer the door. And one of the households, I guess I left my information, and I received a call about an hour later. And the man accuses me of touching his doorknob. Almost, I guess he accused me of trying to break in his house. I told him, no, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, are you sure? Maybe, because I usually left my information between the screen door and the main door, right? And he's like, no, you touched my main door, my main doorknob. And I was starting to get frustrated. And of course, in a professional manner, I said, sir, that makes absolutely no sense. I think I'd be a lot smarter than do it in broad daylight with my work uniform on, knowing there's a camera on me, leaving my information at his door. Like, I gotta be one of the worst criminals ever if I was trying to break in his house. Then he threatened me. He said, if you come back to my property, I'll shoot you. And that was like a little bit scary, because you never know how far people will take it and research your name and find your address. So I automatically called my supervisor, told him the situation, what happened. We documented it. And actually about 3 days later, the guy, he reached out to my supervisor, my company, and he wanted an apology. And I was like, wow, the audacity of some people, right? He wants an apology after he just threatened me for falsely accusing me of touching his doorknob. Another experience in the sales job. I was knocking on the door and no one answered. So as I was walking out, the family was just coming in the driveway. And I just smiled and I said, hi, I'm with such and such. He's like, I appreciate you got my driveway right now. Dead serious. I was like, oh, Yes, sir. Have a good day. I was like, woo, this is brutal, man. But after 2 months, I finally closed the job. And man, I had to earn that job to get that job. That job was not fulfilling to me, but it was a good lesson because it gave me self-discipline. I had to work on my communication skills, my sales skills, right? I'm not a natural salesman. I never like salesmen, personally, because they're usually fake and liars and very deceiving. So they're not the most ethical people to be confronted by. So I understand why people don't trust salesmen, and they didn't trust me. I don't blame them. But that's kind of why I did the job. You know, I was hoping to fail. I was hoping face rejection, because I feel like that's what life is all about. Like, if you could confront rejection and be numb to it and be able to keep going, you know, the sky's the limit for you. You could do anything. A lot of people are affected by rejection. If they're insecure, lack self-image, it feels more personal to them. But what I realize is it's nothing personal when they tell you no. Because what I realize is I'm saying the same exact thing. My sales pitch is the same exact. And you got one person who's like super happy and really cool, and we get the job closed, and you got another person who just cuts me out. So I was like, okay, right there tells you it's not me, it's that person. I can't control how that person reacts to me, but I could give my best effort. And I have a really good attitude and enthusiasm, and just show up at work. You know, be consistent every day. Turmoil happens as I've continued to work in the job. Apparently we weren't making enough money in residential, so they started letting go of employees. And they gave me the pink slip, and they told me they weren't able to afford me. They weren't able to afford my base salary. And they expected me to just do commission only salary. And I told them, no, I'm gonna walk away. I'm sorry. And a day later, all of a sudden they come up with a solution. All of a sudden they're able to afford a base salary now. Not only a base salary, now they added a gas card with it. Now they're able to afford me a gas card, and they didn't offer me a gas card before. So a company that told me that they didn't have enough money, all of a sudden they have all the money. I was like, wow, they're trying to take advantage of me, right? Like, these jobs you're in, they don't care about you. That's the truth. You're just a number, so why should you even care about that job? That was a good lesson. Most people are so attached to their jobs. They think, oh, my job is so great, or my boss is so great. No, me and my coworker were best friends. Like, in the workforce like that, you know, if someone likes you, that doesn't matter. They could fire your butt in 2 seconds. If they need you, that's when they keep you. So that happened, and they offered me that deal. I took it. It helped me tremendously getting the gas card, so I was like, why not? But it showed me that what they thought about me, they were trying to make me into a sucker and catch me off guard and take advantage of me. So I knew right away, like, okay, these guys are not my friends. They're just putting up a front and, you know, just hoping for me to take the bite. Now, I guess, you know, this is what happens to me when I get involved in sales, you know, especially the owner and everyone else. They're all salesmen, so they're trying to deceive you and trick you. But that experience of doing sales was tremendous. It was like public speaking class. Confronting that fear, like, after you approach like 1,000 or 2,000 people, by the fall I door knocked over 3,000 doors. I was like, I was so numb to it. I was like, this is nothing. And like, I was having fun with it. It was like I was experimenting different sales pitch and my posture, and yeah, I got a lot out of it. I feel like anyone could benefit of, you know, door-to-door knocking sales for 3 months. So they just do it for 3 months. You know, you could learn more, way more by doing that than going to college. But that's my experience. That's my apprenticeship. See what's next for me. And Mojo, Mojo. Mojo, look at me, look at the camera. So why am I trying to express to you in this video? Why should you pursue your apprenticeship? I believe apprenticeship advocates for your authentic path in life. It helps you pursue your true self. It helps you align with your life purpose, your life vocation. Most are influenced by others' opinions, society's norm, society's validation, and most pursue things for the wrong reason. There's a quote by Steve Jobs that I love. He said it during his commencement speech in Stanford University back in 2005. He said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards." And that's so much truth to that, right? Like, a lot of people fear the unknown, but at one point, you just have to trust it, right? You just feel like everything will go your way and everything will connect as a puzzle. And that's how I see the apprenticeship. I don't know what these jobs would take me, what they will exactly entail for me in my future, but I know they will be valuable, right? I can't see my path forward, but as I'm looking back right now, reflecting, just as I'm actively in my apprenticeship right now, it's making a lot of sense.